Taehyung had always believed in working hard for what he wanted. He just never expected life to hit so relentlessly. At 24, he was balancing 2 part-time jobs, a mountain of university debt, and ramen dinners that tasted more like survival than comfort. His small rooftop apartment leaked when it rained, and his worn-out boots had holes in the soles he tried to ignore. But he smiled anyway. Taehyung had this brightness about him, an old soul with soft eyes, polite to strangers, always laughing like he hadn't just cried the night before over another rejection letter or late bill notice. He worked at a local cafe by morning and modeled for small online boutiques by night, often paid in clothing instead of cash. He didn't come from money. His family lived in Daegu, struggling just like him. Helping them meant less food on his table, but Taehyung never hesitated. And then there was Jungkook, of John Motors, born into wealth but ruthless enough to multiply it tenfold on his own. At 31, he was Seoul's most sought-after bachelor, handsome, dangerously composed, and constantly surrounded by power and luxury. His penthouse overlooked the Han River like he owned the city. He didn't bother with relationships. He didn't need to. His name alone made people fall in line. They lived in the same world, technically, but everything about their lives was galaxies apart. Jimin stared at Taehyung over a plate of half-eaten instant noodles. "Tae, you're going to kill yourself working like this." "I'm fine," Taehyung replied, trying to hide how red his hands were from washing dishes all day. "No, you're not," Jimin sighed. "You're late on rent, you haven't eaten real food in a week, and your phone screen is cracked again. I love you, but this is getting depressing." Taehyung chuckled humorlessly. "So what, Jimin? You want me to sell a kidney?" Jimin leaned in, voice lowered like he was about to confess a sin. "Not a kidney. Just, maybe your time. Have you ever thought about finding a sugar daddy?" Taehyung recoiled like he'd been slapped. "Are you insane?" "It's not like that." Jimin held up his hands. "Listen, these rich guys? They just want company. A pretty boy on their arm. You're gorgeous, you're classy when you want to be, and if anyone deserves to be spoiled, it's you." Taehyung shook his head. "I'm not some paid plaything, Jimin." "No, you're not," Jimin said gently. "But you're also exhausted, overworked, and barely surviving. This isn't about selling your soul, it's about buying back your life. Just think about it, okay?" 3 weeks later, the eviction notice was the last straw. Taehyung didn't call Jimin. He just showed up at his apartment with a tired look and one sentence. "Help me pick something sexy but subtle." Jimin grinned. "You're finally listening to me?" "I'm desperate, not obedient," Taehyung muttered. But in truth, he was both. That's how Taehyung ended up in a dimly lit hotel lounge, nervous in designer clothes he couldn't afford, waiting for the man who would change everything. The lounge was dim, seductive, bathed in amber light and velvet shadows. Soft jazz played from hidden speakers, the kind that made everything feel like a secret. Taehyung sat at a private booth near the back, fingers fidgeting with the edge of his glass. He wasn't drinking much, just enough for courage. His throat was dry, but not from the alcohol. He knew Jungkook by reputation before the man even entered. Everyone did. The ruthless, elegant CEO who could make or break lives with a single decision. Taehyung had scrolled through articles, press conferences, gossip blogs. He expected expensive arrogance, heavy cologne, someone loud with power. What walked in instead was colder, smoother. Jungkook wore a fitted black suit, nothing flashy, just perfectly tailored. His eyes swept the room once, sharp and unreadable, before they landed on Taehyung like a sniper sight. Taehyung sat straighter. His breath caught. Jungkook walked over slowly, like he had all the time in the world. When he arrived at the table, he didn't speak at first, just looked. Really looked. "You're prettier than the photos," Jungkook finally said, voice low and controlled. Taehyung swallowed. And you're more intimidating in person. That earned him a very small, very dangerous smile. Good, Jungkook replied, sliding into the seat across from him. For a moment, silence fell. Jungkook ordered them both a drink without asking, and Taehyung didn't protest. His fingers brushed the rim of his glass while he tried not to fidget under that gaze. So, Jungkook said after a pause, this is your first time doing this. Taehyung blinked. How did you know? You're nervous, Jungkook said simply. But not faking it. That's rare. Taehyung wasn't sure if it was a compliment or a warning. Probably both. Jungkook leaned forward slightly. I don't do mess. I don't do love. I don't do emotional calls in the middle of the night. I'm not here for that, Taehyung said quickly, even though something stung inside. Jungkook nodded once, satisfied. Then here's what I offer. Weekends when I'm in town. Dinners, overnight stays. You'll be dressed well, paid even better. You keep things quiet, discreet. His voice dropped just slightly. And you give me your attention when I ask for it. Taehyung exhaled slowly. You mean my body? Jungkook's gaze didn't waver. I don't pay for silence. I pay for presence. I want you where I can see you, feel you, have you, when it suits me. Taehyung's heart beat faster. He hated how much that voice stirred something in him. But the words were clear. This wasn't a man looking for connection. Still, desperation was louder than doubt. Taehyung nodded. All right, I accept. Jungkook smiled again, just slightly. Good. I'll send a car for you Friday night. As Jungkook stood, he didn't shake hands. He didn't offer anything personal. But as he passed Taehyung, he paused, and his fingers brushed along the back of Taehyung's neck. Possessive. Taehyung shivered. This wasn't going to be easy. This was already dangerous. But as his phone vibrated with the first deposit, more than he'd made in 3 months combined, Taehyung couldn't afford second thoughts. The elevator doors opened to reveal a palace in the sky. Jungkook's penthouse was made of glass and steel, clean, expensive, and impersonal. Like him. The windows stretched from floor to ceiling, exposing the glittering city beneath them. The kind of view you bought, not earned. Taehyung stood awkwardly near the entrance, clutching his overnight bag like a shield. Come in, Jungkook said, already loosening his tie, walking toward the kitchen without looking back. Take off your shoes. Taehyung obeyed, setting his bag aside. He heard the sound of a drink being poured. I don't do small talk, Jungkook said flatly, returning with 2 glasses of whiskey. This isn't a date. Taehyung took the drink, his fingers brushing Jungkook's just briefly. I didn't expect one. Their eyes locked. Good, Jungkook said. Then his tone shifted, colder, commanding. Bedroom. Now. Taehyung's stomach tightened. He moved on instinct, stepping through the hallway toward the master bedroom. It was massive, like a showroom, not a home. The bed was huge, perfectly made. No sign of softness anywhere. When Jungkook joined him, his jacket was gone. His shirt sleeves were rolled. He closed the door with a click. And then it changed. He didn't kiss Taehyung first. He pressed him against the nearest wall, grabbed his face with one hand and tilted it up. Let me see what I paid for, he muttered, voice dark and low. Taehyung's breath hitched, heat flooding his cheeks. Jungkook's hands roamed, rough, practiced, possessive. His mouth followed, trailing down Taehyung's neck without tenderness. It wasn't about closeness. It wasn't about connection. It was control. Jungkook pushed him to the bed, lips bruising, hands demanding. Taehyung winced more than once. He wasn't used to this. Not like this. Jungkook didn't ask. He expected. He stripped Taehyung like he was unwrapping something he bought. Something owed to him. His touch wasn't cruel, but it wasn't careful either. "You're too quiet," Jungkook growled into Taehyung's ear. "I don't like dolls. Make a sound." Taehyung bit his lip, overwhelmed. His body reacting even as his mind screamed to slow down. This was happening too fast, too hard, too much. Jungkook noticed the hesitation. His eyes narrowed. "You're not new to this, are you?" he asked, tone almost suspicious. "I said yes," Taehyung whispered. "That's enough, isn't it?" Jungkook paused only a second, then nodded once. "Yes, that's enough." And then he continued. "That night was a storm. Jungkook used him like a need, like an escape, like something expensive that belonged to him. He didn't hurt him, but he never once looked into his eyes either. When it was over, Jungkook pulled away without a word. He cleaned up quickly, dressed again, and left the room with his phone pressed to his ear before Taehyung could say anything. Taehyung lay there in silence, body sore, heart hollow. The envelope on the nightstand was thick, heavy with hundreds. He stared at it for a long time. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was the way Jungkook didn't even check if he was okay. The way the room suddenly felt colder than ever. Taehyung rolled to his side, tears pricking at his eyes even though he told himself not to cry. He chose this. But no one warned him how much it would feel like losing himself. Their arrangement continued. Weekends bled into each other, expensive dinners, a glass of wine Taehyung never finished, and then the routine. The penthouse, the silence, the bed. Jungkook was consistent. Cold. Generous. Demanding. He never kissed Taehyung softly. Never held him after. Every time was about release, power, and possession. He'd pull Taehyung's hair, whisper things in his ear that made his chest burn with shame, make him beg, not because it was intimate, but because Jungkook liked the sound of being in control. Taehyung never said no. Not once. But every time he left that bed, his steps were slower. He grew quieter. Jimin noticed first. "You're losing color," he said one morning at their usual cafe. "You used to light up when you talked." Taehyung stirred his coffee. "I'm fine." "You're not," Jimin said gently. "You're enduring something. That's not the same as surviving." Taehyung didn't answer. Because what could he say? He had rent money. He had new shoes. He had envelopes full of quiet. But his soul felt threadbare. It was a rainy Saturday when something shifted. Taehyung had just gotten out of the shower. He was in Jungkook's oversized shirt, the hem brushing his thighs. He didn't know Jungkook had arrived early. He thought he had time to breathe. The bedroom door opened. Taehyung startled, pulling the shirt tighter around him. Jungkook paused at the doorway. His eyes dropped down slowly, sweeping over Taehyung's damp hair, bare legs, flushed cheeks. "You weren't ready," Jungkook said flatly. "You're early," Taehyung said, voice small. For a moment, silence. Then Jungkook walked toward him. "I like the shirt on you." It wasn't a compliment. More like an observation. Like he was assessing an object. He reached out, tugged the hem upward. Taehyung flinched. Just a little. But Jungkook saw it. His hand froze in place. They stood there, tits. Rain hit the windows like a ticking clock. "Why did you flinch?" Jungkook asked quietly. Taehyung stared at the floor. "I didn't." Jungkook stepped back. For the first time, he didn't touch him. He didn't speak. He just watched him. And for once, he looked uncertain. Like he couldn't figure out what he was feeling. Taehyung turned away and walked to the bed, heart pounding. Expecting Jungkook to follow. To take what he came for. But Jungkook left the room. He didn't say why. The next few weekends were the same again. Jungkook was distant, but a little quieter. His touches didn't last as long. His eyes lingered longer than they used to. One night, he stared at Taehyung for a full minute before even undressing him. "You okay?" he asked, as if testing the words on his tongue. Taehyung blinked. Why do you care? Jungkook's jaw clenched. I don't. And yet, he didn't sleep with him that night. They just lay on opposite ends of the bed. Jungkook staring at the ceiling, seeing at the wall. For the first time in weeks, Taehyung didn't cry after. It was supposed to be another night. Another penthouse visit. Another envelope left on the counter. Taehyung dressed up as usual, soft silk, polished skin, lip gloss that caught the city lights. He smiled when Jungkook opened the door. He always smiled. Jungkook kissed him, rough and fast, not a hello but a claim. He pressed him against the wall. Same rhythm. Same silence. Same need. But something was different. Taehyung didn't respond. He just let it happen. His arms hung at his sides. He didn't resist, but he didn't participate either. His eyes didn't close. He didn't even sigh. Jungkook paused. Why aren't you doing anything? Taehyung blinked slowly, voice low. I'm tired. You're getting paid, Jungkook snapped. That was it. The words sliced deeper than anything before. Taehyung pushed him off, chest heaving. Is that all I am to you? A fucking receipt. Jungkook stared at him, caught off guard. I let you use me. I let you say things no one else could. I gave you everything. Taehyung hissed, tears rising now, uncontainable. And you don't even look at me like I'm human. Jungkook opened his mouth, but Taehyung cut him off. Don't say sorry. You're not. You're just confused because for the first time, I'm not your quiet little toy. He shoved the thick envelope off the table. It burst open on the floor, bills flying like paper cuts. I don't care about the money anymore, Taehyung said, voice cracking. I just wanted to feel something from you. Jungkook stepped forward, but Taehyung moved back. Don't touch me. And for the first time ever, Jungkook listened. He stood there in silence, hands clenched, watching Taehyung fall apart. He wasn't used to this. He didn't know what to do with the shaking shoulders, the tear-streaked cheeks, the raw, furious pain in Taehyung's eyes. He'd broken people before, but this felt different. This felt like losing something he hadn't even realized he cared about. Taehyung left. He didn't look back. The door clicked shut, and for the first time, the penthouse felt like what it really was, empty, glassy, soulless. Jungkook stood in the middle of the chaos. The scattered money, the scent of Taehyung's cologne, the silence pressing in on all sides. He should have called someone else. He should have poured a drink, lit a cigar, moved on. But he didn't. He stood there too long. And for once, he wasn't thinking about money. He was thinking about a boy who used to smile just to hide how much it hurt. A week passed. Then two. No calls. No messages. No envelopes. At first, Taehyung thought Jungkook was just giving him space. Maybe cooling off. Maybe searching for a new pretty boy with a weaker voice and a stronger stomach. But then, a knock on his apartment door. A man in a black suit. Polite. Formal. He handed Taehyung a sealed envelope and left without a word. Inside it, as of today, our agreement is formally terminated. You owe me nothing. I will not contact you again. Take care of yourself. JJ. Taehyung read it 3 times. Each line sharper than the last. He thought it would feel like freedom. But instead, his chest cracked open. No contract. No control. No more reasons to see Jungkook. He should have felt safe. But instead, he felt hollow. Because somewhere between the nights of bruises and wine, between the harsh hands and soft goodbyes, something had changed. He didn't want the money anymore. He just wanted to be seen. And now, Jungkook was gone. The penthouse stayed dark. Jungkook didn't call anyone. Didn't fly anywhere. The women stopped texting. The wine glasses stayed full. He sat on the edge of his own bed every night, staring at the spot Taehyung used to sleep, curled up small, back to him, always pretending not to care. But Jungkook remembered the way he breathed. The quiet sighs when he thought Jungkook was asleep. The hum of his voice when he dried his hair in the bathroom. The way he whispered, "Good night," under his breath, never expecting an answer. He remembered all of it. And now it haunted him. He tried writing another letter. Tried calling. But he didn't send it. Because he knew it had to come from him. His voice. His words. His heart, however late. It was raining again when he showed up. No driver. No suit. No umbrella. Just Jungkook, soaked and silent at Taehyung's door. Taehyung opened it in a hoodie, hair messy, eyes red. They stared at each other. Neither spoke. Until finally, "I'm sorry," Jungkook said, voice hoarse. "I was cruel." Taehyung leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Why now?" "I thought setting you free was the right thing," Jungkook whispered. "But I was just running. Like I always do." Taehyung swallowed hard. "I'm not something you can buy, Jungkook. Not someone you keep until you're bored." "I know," Jungkook said, stepping closer. "I know that now. And I don't want you under contract. I want you to choose." Taehyung searched his face, really searched it. For the first time, Jungkook wasn't the cold, towering man from the penthouse. He was just a boy in the rain, trying to apologize. Still guarded. Still flawed. But finally, real. Taehyung didn't move. He let the silence stretch. Then quietly, "If you want me," he said, "you'll have to work for it." Jungkook nodded. Taehyung closed the door just slightly, but not all the way. Not yet. Jungkook didn't text, not at first. He didn't send gifts or show up uninvited. Instead, he did something harder. He waited. And then, gently, he started showing up in Taehyung's world. Not in a suit. Not in a car that cost more than a house. Just Jungkook. He came to the bookstore where Taehyung worked part-time, awkwardly pretending to browse poetry. He stopped by the coffee shop Jimin had introduced him to, fumbling through an order Taehyung once said was his favorite, oat milk, cinnamon, extra shot. The barista raised an eyebrow. "This isn't your usual, Mr. John." "I know," Jungkook said, offering a rare smile. "I'm trying something new." One day, he left a folded note on the cafe table where Taehyung always sat. "You once told me you liked sunrises more than sunsets, because they meant you had something to look forward to. I want to be someone you can look forward to. JK. Taehyung didn't reply. But the next day he showed up early, before opening hours, and found Jungkook waiting with 2 coffees and a nervous look. "You're not subtle," Taehyung said, sitting beside him on the steps. "I'm not trying to be," Jungkook said. "I don't want to hide what I feel anymore." Taehyung sipped the coffee. Silence stretched again, but this time, it was warm. "You really want to do this? The real thing?" Taehyung finally asked, side-eyeing him. Jungkook nodded. "No more control. No more contracts. I just want you to be around me." "And what if I say no?" Taehyung asked, brow raised. "Then I'll still show up," Jungkook said quietly. "Because I've been rich all my life. But I've never felt poor until I lost you." Taehyung turned his face away, because his eyes were threatening to tear. Damn him. He was trying. And worse? It was working. The next few weeks passed like a delicate negotiation. Only this time, there was no contract. Only glances. Choices. Boundaries. Taehyung let Jungkook in slowly, inch by inch. He invited him to help carry groceries up his walk-up apartment. Jungkook grumbled about the stairs, but didn't complain. He brought Jungkook to a local food stall, where greasy tteokbokki and laughter warmed them more than champagne ever did. Jungkook coughed from the spice, red-faced and trying not to look weak, and Taehyung nearly cried laughing. He let Jungkook meet his neighbor's dog. He let Jungkook sit on the floor with him and watch old movies on a scratched DVD. He let Jungkook see who he really was, without silk sheets or city views or expensive cologne. And Jungkook didn't run. Instead, he stayed quiet, watched every expression on Taehyung's face like it was art. He touched less, spoke more, smiled more, and waited. One night, after a small local art show Taehyung dragged him to, they sat on a park bench just past midnight. It was cold. Jungkook shrugged off his coat and put it over Taehyung's shoulders. No designer label? Taehyung teased. Not everything has to be luxury to matter, Jungkook said, softly. Taehyung's fingers twisted in the fabric. He looked at Jungkook under the lamplight. His hair a little messy, his eyes tired but open. Honest. He wasn't the same man who used to pin him to silk sheets without asking what he wanted. Not the man who left cold breakfasts and thicker bruises. This Jungkook was quieter. Slower. Trying. Do you miss it? Taehyung asked suddenly. Having control? Jungkook didn't flinch. I miss you more. Taehyung didn't respond. Not with words. Instead, he leaned in. Slow. Testing. And kissed him. Not like before, not hungry or desperate or paid for. It was gentle. Intentional. Jungkook froze. Just for a second. As if afraid to break it. Then he kissed him back, hand resting lightly against Taehyung's cheek. Was the most precious thing he'd ever held. And when they pulled apart, neither of them spoke. Because there was nothing to sell. Nothing to prove. Just two men beneath a quiet sky. Finally kissing for no other reason than wanting to. It didn't happen right away. Even after the kiss. Even after Jungkook started holding his hand like he meant it, not like he owned it. Even after Taehyung let his guard down and Jungkook tucked him under his chin on colder nights. But one night, after a slow dinner at Taehyung's place, after wine and quiet music and a dozen small looks, Taehyung touched his wrist and said softly, "You can stay." Jungkook froze. He looked into Taehyung's eyes, not to assume, not to take, but to ask. Are you sure? Taehyung nodded, small but certain. So Jungkook stayed. And for the first time, they undressed each other like it mattered. No rough hands. No force. Jungkook's fingers trembled as he slid Taehyung's sweater over his head, like he was unwrapping something sacred. He kissed the hollow of Taehyung's throat. Trailed his lips down the curve of his collarbone. Taehyung's breath hitched, not from fear, not from pain, but from how gentle it all was. When Jungkook pulled back, his voice was hoarse. Tell me if anything hurts. Taehyung stared at him, this man who used to take and never ask. Now waiting. Now soft. Now scared to hurt him again. Taehyung reached up, touched Jungkook's face. I'll tell you, he whispered. But I don't think you will. That night, Jungkook didn't just make love to him. He worshipped him. Every kiss was slow. Every movement patient. He whispered, "You're beautiful," like it was confession. Like he was finally trying to give Taehyung something more than money, more than escape. He was trying to give him his heart. After, they lay tangled in the sheets of Taehyung's small bed. Jungkook didn't leave. He didn't rush off to a call or a boardroom. He stayed, with his hand in Taehyung's hair, his chest against Taehyung's back, breathing in sync. And when morning light spilled across the bed, Jungkook whispered into his skin. This is the only contract I want now. Taehyung smiled sleepily, barely awake. What contract? Jungkook kissed his shoulder. One where I love you. And you never leave. Taehyung didn't answer right away. But his fingers curled around Jungkook's. And he didn't let go.